Hey Blue Ridgers, wherever you're at right now, would you just close your eyes with me and join me in prayer? Jesus, we come to you, the one who does make the darkness tremble, the one who does silence fears. And we come to you in this moment, anticipating your movement in our lives today. And so I pray that you would do this miraculous thing where your spirit that lives inside of each one of us would allow us the opportunity to connect with each other and to connect with you. Even though physically we're apart, that your spirit would connect us together over this next few minutes. Thank you for everything you want to do and are doing among us already. It's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Well, welcome once again this week to another Blue Ridge Online. My name's Jeremy and I'm one of the pastors here at Blue Ridge. I hope you and those in your house are safe and well today. I know for some of us, being at home isolated with the news playing COVID-19 updates 24 hours a day has triggered feelings of anxiety, fear, worry, depression. Well, please, don't walk through that alone. We want to connect with and help care for you in this season. If you would go to blueridge.org/get help, someone from Blue Ridge will get back to you within 24 hours, connect with you, and start you down a path to get the care and the help you need in this season. Again, that is blueridge.org/get help. Next, a couple of ways to stay up to date and connected with what's happening here at Blue Ridge. First is our YouTube channel, where we are committed to delivering weekly content for kids, teens, and adults. And that's at blueridge.org/YouTube. And the second is this, it's signing up to receive our church-wide email at blueridge.org/email. Those are two very practical things you can do right now to stay connected and up to date with what is happening here at Blue Ridge. And finally, for those of you who are watching and call Blue Ridge home, if you aren't already doing this, would you prayerfully consider giving financially online or through our Text to Give platform so that together we can continue to connect with and care for one another and our community as more and more needs arise in this coming season. You can find out all the information you need to do this at blueridge.org/give. Now today, I am super excited about what is in store for us as Todd, our missions pastor, shares with us what people from Blue Ridge are doing to connect with and care for one another and those in our community during this time. Love you all and love doing this with you.
Hey everyone, my name's Todd Foster and I'm one of the pastors here at Blue Ridge. My main role is foreign and local missions, so you can imagine the roller coaster ride that it's been over the last couple weeks. So this last week, my wife and I, we lead a college life group together, and we met for the first time since coronavirus had started. So most of the students had gone home, they're back to the places where they live. So it was our first time getting back together. So like most people in the world, we were doing a Zoom. It's a virtual platform online where you can all see each other via video, or you can listen in with audio. I think we have a picture of it that will show you guys. It was really good to be together. It was great to connect and just ask each of the students and 20-somethings how they're doing, how they're feeling about what's going on in life. I think it was encouraging for them. I know it was for Shay and I. And at the end of it, my wife asked me, hey, will you just pray for everybody, for what's going on and wrap things up? And as I did, I felt something that I hadn't felt quite so deeply for them. It was a love for them, a gratitude for them. It was really emotional. And I started to cry. So my wife acknowledges it, and then everybody online is kind of acknowledging it. And I was trying to lean out of the picture. You know, I missed them. I missed the life that they brought to my home, the excitement, the joy, all that stuff. I missed it. And so when I thought about today and being together with all of you, I feel that same way. I miss you. I miss being together. I miss the hustle and bustle of the atrium and the staff being here and interaction. But when I stop and I pause and I think about who God is in the midst of all this stuff, he's no different than he was before all this started. He's still good. He's still faithful. He's still kind. He still loves me. He loves you, and he's worthy of my attention and my worship. And honestly, even despite the coronavirus coming, there are so many amazing stories of God moving in and through his people. All you have to do is just check on social media for just a moment. So stories like dozens of people showing up to a hospital and worshiping and praying over all the workers and the people who are sick inside. It's brought a boldness. It's brought us together in ways that we just hadn't had before this happened. There are neighbors who are checking on other neighbors who have cancer and can't get out, taking them meals, going to the grocery store, just mutual care for one another. And it's absolutely beautiful to see. And so we want to share some of those stories today and celebrate God's goodness. Here's our hope, is that at the end of this, it would inspire you and cause you to want to be more like Jesus. I don't think it's by chance that God had us sort of dub this year the year of the disciple. What's a disciple? What's a disciple who makes disciples? And so we started out this year, and I think it's important to maybe go back to that. And we kicked off the year with a really short series that just sort of asked that question, what's a disciple? And so in Mark chapter 1, verse 17, Jesus is stopping by the Sea of Galilee, and there are these guys that are fishing there, and he invites them into something. He says, hey, you guys, come and follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. And I think it's important to just stop for a moment and sort of ask the questions, okay, let's put skin on this. What did Jesus really mean? This was something that happened in history. And so if someone really famous or important stopped by and invited you and me and interrupted our lives, whether you're a teacher, a mom, you work in a factory, whatever you do, whatever your job is, and it's the everyday, the mundane, the hard work, and someone interrupts it in a massive way and says, hey, I have something huge that I want to invite you into. Would you want to be a part of it? That's what was happening. And so Jesus invites them to leave what they're doing and follow him. So a disciple is someone who follows Jesus. So that's a lot of what this first series helped define. So a disciple are these three things. Someone who follows Jesus, is being made like Jesus, and is on mission with Jesus. And when those things overlap, that centerpiece, that's the life of Jesus. And that's what we want for ourselves, and that's what we want for other people. And so, at the same time, we wrapped up that series, and we moved into a piece of being made like Jesus, and that's our identity. Because if we're gonna be a disciple, if we're gonna follow Jesus, we need to know who we are. And so we started to talk about those things like we're the body of Christ, and that we each have a part to play, and it's really important. You're valuable, you're important in the body of Christ. You have a role to play. And then last week, Dave talked about the temple, that Jesus lives inside of us, and that he resides and gives us his power, this strength, these things that we don't have on our own, so that we can be something that God does in us and then through us to the world. It's beautiful and it's amazing. And so when we thought about finishing out this series, we wanted to celebrate it by sharing stories. So we had the whole thing planned out. We had it programmed, we had the stories picked, and then coronavirus came. And it changed everything. It changed your world, and it changed mine. And so we had to pause, and we had to ask the question, what does being a disciple look like? What does a disciple who makes disciples look like in our current reality? And so I think it's important to maybe lean back against God's word, because he has something to say about that in the midst of these times. And I think it'll be meaningful for you and really important. So Galatians 6:10 says, so then, As we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially to those who are in the household of faith. John 13, 34 and 35, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also love one another. By this, people will know that you're my disciples, if you love one another. 1 Thessalonians 5, 14 and 15. See that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. And we urge you, brothers, admonish the idle, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, and be patient with them all. Man, I think in these verses right here, we can find all those things happening around us. If we talk to friends, coworkers, if you watch the news, people are faint-hearted. They're weary, they're tired, they're afraid, they're anxious. They're all those things. Let's talk just about inside my house with me and all my kids living together and talk about like moments of being impatient and everybody wanting their own personal space. There's so much room to express and live out these verses. And so when we thought about wrapping up the series, it was more important that we acknowledge what's happening right now. And so instantly we went to, okay, well, where are the stories? And it was not hard to find them. You were already doing these things. Stories were pouring in of you reaching out to coworkers, thinking about how you could affect the community, how you could make a difference, how you could be a disciple who was reaching out and loving the world and trying to make disciples. And so we want to take a few minutes and we want to celebrate some of those stories, hoping that will encourage your family where you are, your friends where you are, and your life to continue to live that way. So I'd love to share a few of those stories with you right now. Man, they were amazing. So there's April, who's a part of the Bedford campus. She's a new believer. And this was a little bit earlier, about a week ago. They were delivering lunches to kids out in Bedford in the Raintree Apartments. And the children of Bedford Primary School, Bedford Elementary, had just one bus route. They actually had to go back and get more lunches for the kids. And she says this, my heart is so full. One little boy who has behavioral issues came up to me and gave me a big hug. I know social distancing, but he needed it, and so did I. And so, things like that happening where human connection becomes so much more valuable than it did before. Angie Godsey is on staff here at Blue Ridge, and she works in the arts department, and she leads all the ladies in a small group, and obviously they can't meet together. And so they've been meeting virtually, and the conversation, the way that they've been leaning into one another is so much more intentional now than it ever was before, because they can't see each other face to face. She said it's been life-changing for them. Also, another one of our staff members, she's been talking to a lady named Mary who is a medical worker. And she noticed that she works with the elderly, and they're in a home and they can't leave and they can't have somebody come and visit. So she decided, well, I'm already here. And so she stays late after her shift is over and just spends time with them, loving on them, encouraging them, being family for them when they can't have family. It's amazing. It's beautiful to watch. One other one is a friend of mine named Melissa. She reached out and just shared how she's been making care packages for medical workers in different fields around Lynchburg, just trying to find a way to love on them, to let them know that we see them, that we care about where they are. All those things. It's like earning a right to be heard into people's lives. And it's what we need right now. And so we did kind of pause this week. I invited some friends over earlier in the week to do an interview with them to kind of hear some of the stories that they've been in the middle of and been experiencing. And so this first interview is Crystal George and Laura Erskine. And they've been reaching sort of outward to the community, and here's what they've been in the middle of. Check it out. Crystal and Laura, thanks for stopping by today and giving us a little bit of your time. We are officially at least 6 feet apart.
At least.
At least.
Yep.
Okay. We're official. We're doing everything right, and So really glad you guys stopped by. So we want to share a couple stories of what God's been doing in and through your lives. And so as we shared earlier, we're doing it through the perspective of kind of reaching out to the community right now. Disciples, making disciples. I got to admit, I was really excited to have you guys come and share these stories because I've been following along. And so I'm super excited for them to get a chance to hear about it. So let's start with Crystal.
Okay.
Crystal leads women's life here at Blue Ridge, and you kind of had this unique opportunity. So you were watching all this stuff unfold, and I love your heart. You had this, I don't know if burden's the right word, but you saw what was happening to our medical workers and
Yes.
how hard it was for them. And so you just had something really cool kind of come into your lap and started to run with it. Why don't you share a little bit about it?
You know, honestly, I was trying to remember today how this even started, and it's kind of a blur, and I don't really have I was asking God today, wait a second, one of those moments where you're like, how did I end up here, and what road did I take? But all of it started with a Facebook post that I saw for Bedford Memorial that said they were running short on masks, and I know some people who sew. And so I reached out and I was like, hey guys, can we, make these homemade masks? I've seen some people doing it. And that felt like something really tangible that we could do right away. And so that has snowballed into a group of it's over 20 women right now and one guy hanging in there. Good job. And just everybody jumping on board to sew medical masks for people in our community.
It's been so cool, seeing people jump on and just want to be a part of things. How did you see that come together? Were people just kind of reaching out to you?
Yeah, people just started to reach out. I mentioned it, I think, on my Facebook and maybe in our Women's Life group and asked if anyone wanted to volunteer their time and if anyone had any materials they wanted to donate. And all of a sudden, the things started to flood in, the requests, people saying, hey, my mom sews or I sew, or my roommate and I sew, and people bringing materials and thread. And so it all just kind of came together, honestly, within a week.
Yeah. So when you deliver these things, what's the response like from those people?
Yeah, it's been really neat, actually, because I feel like, a lot of people are struggling right now with not feeling productive or not feeling connected or loved. And even today, I dropped off some things this morning to somebody in Bedford, and the director who received the masks was just teary-eyed and expressing how much it meant that they could get these for free, that they're struggling to get supplies. And this is a service that runs in Bedford pro bono, and they do things, for people who are in need, like the elderly or the ill. And so just being able to reach out to different parts of our community and say, hey, we love you, and there's not much that we can do right now, but we can give this away for free, I think is really meaningful, that people still feel like they're seen and what they're doing is important.
It's so interesting to me because if this wasn't happening, they'd have plenty of masks and it would be something that we'd totally take for granted. Yeah. But because this has happened, now there's this human compassion and care and connect that wasn't there before. And it's just so cool to me to see someone receive love that they wouldn't have if this hadn't have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy. And it's, you never know when you know something or you have a skill that God's going to use. I feel like God never wastes anything. So the thing that I have really loved is just seeing people who maybe have just quilted or they've sewn as a hobby be able to jump in and use the gifts and the talents that they have to love on people. There's another company locally that is a mental health assistant company, and they have a lot of counselors that work all over the state of Virginia, and they just put in an order. So our masks are not only going to be loving people locally, but they're going to be distributed all over Virginia. And so that's a really cool way, I think, of connecting people who want to serve, and then connecting people who maybe don't know Jesus yet, or who are maybe just in need of encouragement, to be honest, and see God do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of encouragement that's needed right now. For all those people who are encouragers, that's probably one of those spiritual gifts that I think we need more than ever in this moment. You shared kind of another piece to this, the letter writing. Maybe talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, that was just today. And honestly, Todd, I feel so silly in some ways because I'm like, man, we could have been doing this for a year ago. But one of the things I've been praying about is for people who love to serve but don't feel like they know how to get connected, or they can't sew, or they don't know what to do. I was just thinking today, driving home from Bedford, how can we do things for people who are in, the patients maybe that this company is driving to medical visits, how can we love on them? And the idea of just encouragement cards came to mind, just writing an anonymous encouragement card. And that's something that all of us can do. We can all, find some paper, find some pens, and open the Bible and just, encourage people and love them. So that's something we're going to be opening up to Women's Life and to anyone who wants to write encouragement cards, just a way to say, hey, you may be stuck at home and you may have all these things that you can do now with your kids, or maybe you're stuck at home and you're like, I don't know what to do with myself. But nothing is wasted. We have time to reach out and love on people. So those encouragement cards hopefully are going to be starting next week.
Yeah. So, you can't go very far on social media without seeing the impact that things are having on medical workers. But at the same time, you can pretty easily find some people responding. There's been lots of cool Facebook posts about people praying for and reaching out to and making care packages for medical workers. So again, when you're in a hard spot and you receive encouragement and love that comes towards you, how big it is. So I just love that this has happened. Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say too, I'm so proud, again, of the teams that have stepped up. It's, it doesn't matter if I'm organizing it or whatever, or Lindsay Patton has also been awesome. She's been our sewing director. I wanted to mention her. But it's the people who are sewing the masks and the people that are giving the materials that really are the people who are stepping up and making a difference. So I just want to say good job to them.
Yes. All right, Laura. So super cool story that God's been writing in your whole family.
Yeah, it really is.
Amazing.
He's awesome.
So you found yourself down in Lynchburg City. You guys intentionally moved down there. You felt like God was pulling you there way before any of this happened.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he did.
Share a little bit about, how that got you there, but then, what's happening right now and the story that God's writing in and through your family.
Yeah, so we moved to a home near downtown Lynchburg probably about 8 or 9 months ago. And so many people in the Blue Ridge community had a big part in helping us get there financially, prayerfully, and use their talents and just their skills to be able to help us with renovations and just providing meals for us. And so in the process, actually many people probably met Miss Andrea, who is our neighbor. And she is an amazing woman. And she's one of the many neighbors that we have met that's kind of an integral part of downtown Lynchburg. And I think downtown Lynchburg kind of gets a bad rap. Sometimes a lot on the news, you hear all these bad things, but there are people there who have lived there for years, generations, and grown their children up there, and they love it. And there's believers there, and she is one of these people. And so when all of this came out, and we've been living here in downtown Lynchburg, and all of this happened, and my heart is for people. My heart is for them to know that I love them. I've been walking the streets and saying hello to people. I get hellos back sometimes, sometimes not. But now when I approached Miss Andrea and I said, hey, you want to come walk with me and pray with me and talk about what we can do and reach out to this community? The 40-minute loop that it took me took us 2 hours because she said, so-and-so lives here. I mean, every single street we went on, she knew most of the houses and most of the people, saying hello, coming out, and just this conversation that was happening. And just for me to see that and to see I get to just be a part, come alongside of her and use my resources that I have and spread the word about this community.
So tell us a little bit about, what's happening right now, this project that you guys started because of coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, just like Crystal said, I'm trying to remember, how did this start? I mean, me and Miss Andrea just got together. She comes over to our house often. She loves my family so well. And so it would just kind of happen. We were praying and we said, let's show them love. Let's show them hope. Let's give them something. Some of our neighbors don't really need anything. They've got everything they need. Others are in drastic need. And so if we can give them something, hopefully it will be received with love and just appreciation, because, hey, we're all going through the exact same thing right now. Every person in this world is going through the exact same thing. I can start a conversation with a complete stranger right now, and we have so much in common. And it's just amazing. And so, I'm not sure if I actually answered your question. I'm kind of on a roll.
So tell them about the door tags and like this whole program that you guys put together.
Okay. So let me take a breath here. So we just, this past Saturday, we mapped out 200 households and in our College Hill area, and we walked around and passed bags out with just some activities for kids. That's another big thing. A lot of these children are receiving these free lunches during the school year, and of course the school is providing all of that, which is great. But a lot of these kids don't have internet access. And so all of these free things that our kids might be doing, they're not able to do. And so my heart goes out to these parents and these kids and just providing something, like some sort of activity for them to do. And so we passed those out on Saturday, and then this past Sunday, we were able to walk around and collect those. Now, in the process, we're talking to people. We're saying, hey, hello, how are you doing? It's not about the items that we put in the bags for them. They were able to fill out a contact sheet if they were interested in receiving more items in the future, some non-perishable food items, some household essentials, and children's activities. And so if they wanted to receive those items, they put the bag back on their porch on Sunday, and we collected those. So not only did we collect some envelopes, I think we received about 30 back, but there was neighbors who put items on their porch. They said, hey, I don't need anything, but here, can you please give this back? So it's this circle of community that I've seen and I've heard that so many are doing already in their community within the Blue Ridge body, but that's just kind of a little thing that we're doing, and it warms my heart so much because I finally get to these neighbors that I've been trying to reach so much over these past months with walking and saying hello. Like, I'm finally able to connect with them.
So God took something really difficult and is using it for good.
Yes,
I love
absolutely.
that. So it's called College Hill Cares.
College Hill Cares, yes.
.com?
.org.
.org. collegehillcares.org. And so I love this. If you want to be a part of what either of these two ladies are doing, you can go check it out. It'll be on BR Global Facebook page, or you can go to the website and see everything posted there, a way to connect with them. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your story. I know that there are infinitely more details, but together as a whole family, Blue Ridge, we're praying for what God's doing in it through you.
Thank you, guys. We
Thank
need the
you guys
prayers.
so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So aren't those stories amazing? You know, Crystal and Laura are just like you and me. They're people in their own communities trying to figure out how to make a difference. And that's how God moved in and through them. And so they were reaching out to the community. I would love to share with you two stories, just a couple things of a few people who are reaching in. They're taking care of the one another. And so I invited Craig Dowdy and Ashleigh to come and just share a little bit about their experience. So let's watch. Ashleigh and Craig, thank you guys for stopping by this week. So grateful that you took some time. We are officially 6 feet apart. We were joking about that earlier with Crystal and Lauren when they stopped by and shared a couple stories. So obviously we are wrapping up a series, Identity. We kicked off this year by what it means to be a disciple. And so we want to pause and really celebrate the stories that God's writing in and through Blue Ridgers like you guys. And so we wanted to give everybody a chance to hear those. So let's take some time and jump in. So Ashleigh, you and I got invited into something pretty cool. One of the ladies that serves on the technical team, Taryn, she had this huge burden for the 60 plus year old people, not old people.
No, not old. They're not old at all.
They've made that perfectly clear. But you know, before all this happened, this wasn't on the radar, but now all of a sudden these were vulnerable people and she just really cared about them. And so you kind of stepped in and started doing something pretty cool, making phone calls. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So I got asked to be a part of this, and we took a couple days to get a plan together. And once we did, we started making phone calls, and what we found was really amazing. We heard exactly what you just said. Like, people are like, we're 60, we're not old. People, honestly, a lot of people didn't answer the phone. I got a lot of text messages back saying, thanks for reaching out, we're good. The biggest thing that our community has asked for is prayer for our community and for everyone being affected by COVID-19. What has come that's been so exciting was one person was related to an elder that we made a call to, and they needed help. So the church stepped in and is taking steps to help them. And then earlier this week, we got an email that someone needed toilet paper and water. Nothing.
You never thought that would be so important in people's lives until now.
No, and we're going, where are we going to get the toilet paper? Unfortunately, I had prepared and we have some extra rolls, and so we're going to give it to them, but they just needed toilet paper and water, and they're like, can the church please help me? And absolutely, we are so excited, and I never thought I'd be excited to give someone toilet paper.
I got to tell you, so there's two things about this. I love your heart for people. Like when you jumped into this, you were like, please, I just want to help someone. I just want to reach out to someone. And so like the first person that's like, yes, I need some help. You were like, this is so awesome.
I was sad that nobody wanted help.
But I love the personal connection. That's been the cool thing that I've seen out of this is people that would never interact otherwise are now intentionally up close, personal, having a conversation and going, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
That's so cool to watch.
Right. And like when we were making the phone calls, Barb, Flo, and Jordan and I, it was literally a race to, oh, this person answered. No, I got a voicemail. Oh, I'm getting a call back. And just to talk to people, and they weren't just a number on a spreadsheet anymore. They were a voice. They were a person in our church family. That even if they just wanted to talk in 2 weeks because they were bored, like give us a call back. It was just really great. It was very filling.
Man, there's just something so valuable. And oftentimes we say, hey, we're a family, welcome. But now God's afforded us this opportunity to really act like that in a whole new way, a more intentional way.
Right. I
love it. Craig, so you're in a really unique spot. And so you're a part of leading Men's Life. But before you get to that part, I love what you and your wife decided to do in all this stuff. You've been doing this ding dong dash. What's it called?
If I get it correct, I think I said it was a ding dong ditch donut drive-by. And it's just been an amazing opportunity. My wife, she has just fabulous ideas. And, she sends me out to do them and go on mission to get these done so she can stay home with the kids. And so we just knew some families that were sick, and not from, the coronavirus or anything like that. Just they were sick and their kids were sick. And so what could we do? They're stuck in the home and they can't go anywhere. And so we just thought maybe we'll just buy some donuts and drop them off on their porch and ring the doorbell and take off as fast as we can. And just a way to bless people. And our kids love it too, because normally I bought some for us and brought them home for them as well. So one of the cool opportunities that we had, though, was to bring them to Tom Bloyd's house.
You guys know Tom. He's the greeter out at the main door there. He said hi to thousands and thousands of people.
Well, he's my wife's favorite person, I think, probably in the world at this point. And, for a man who at one time was writing upwards of 500 birthday cards to everybody that came to Blue Ridge, just to be able to give back just a little bit and encourage him for all the years that he's encouraged everybody here. It's just an awesome opportunity to do that. And so, I got some donuts and went to his house, and he actually came to the door, and so the glass door was closed. My wife said, do not get near him. That's my nurse wife talking, do not get near him. And so we talked through the door, and he was just so encouraged. And he was actually an encouragement to me as well. So it was cool to take a picture with him through the door.
Yeah. I asked you this not to tell your own story, but I wanted people to see that you guys are everyday people. We're just everyday people, because I think people kind of get frozen a little bit and don't know where to start. We've talked about that quite a bit in your circles. And I wanted just some just examples of just take a small step in front of you and reach out. It's that personal connection that we need more than ever.
I think Ashleigh said it, though. She said that it was about the people, not the names on a spreadsheet. And so it's got to be about people and not projects. If you see the person in front of you, that's an opportunity right there. It's not a project, but look at them as a person instead.
Yeah. So in a coronavirus world, that's become really difficult. I think people are fearful to take a step, to lean in. They don't know what to do because there's so much news going on. Craig, in Men's Life, how have you seen that play out? How do you see people connecting and caring for one another?
Well, I think the cool part for me is that I was actually away for work when all this kind of kicked off. I wasn't really a part of men's life this season. And just to see a bunch of the men step up and take leadership roles was huge, kind of coming out of our series on what is a disciple, someone that's actually on mission with Jesus. And the awesome part about this whole thing is that one of the guys that God brought to men's life this season, he does videography for a living. And he hasn't really had much work because of this. Not only that, but he lives directly next door to John Tatuli, who I co-lead men's life with. And so, he was out of work, and we needed somehow to be able to videotape men's life and put it online. And so he helped set up a YouTube channel for us, and he's doing live shoots. John's house is turned into this mini studio during the week, and then the table leaders are connecting through Zoom. And the cool thing about that is that someone actually paid for his rent through August. And so he can be freed up to be able to do this and connect with people.
Man, it's almost like God was already on it before you guys even got here.
Yeah, most definitely. God had this whole thing planned out long before we ever thought about it. So,
yeah, that's pretty incredible. What would you say to people, who are wrestling to take a step, to love on, to care for? What's just a piece of encouragement that you would give them?
I think for me, one of the encouraging things is during the very first pressing in, David Hart said something. And he said that Paul wrote from isolation, but he didn't insulate himself. Even though he was in isolation on house arrest, he still looked and took opportunities not to insulate himself, but to advance the gospel. And that encouraged other people to do the same thing outside of the prison walls, and they became more bold to preach the word. There was one phrase in that passage that Paul said, "My imprisonment is for Christ." And so my isolation could be for Christ as well. We just have to, if you have something in your mind that you're thinking about, that God's stirring your heart, just do it. If it's picking up the phone and calling somebody, or even just checking with a neighbor to see if they might need something when you're going to the store. You're like, nah, they're good, they don't need. No, just do it. Even if they say they're good and they don't need anything, they're encouraged to hear somebody else's voice than just the people that are in their house right now.
Ashleigh, he sounds like you.
Yes, I totally agree, Todd. I mean, Craig. And that's what I was going to say too. And for me, it's what Jeremy said several weeks ago. I fear this, but I'm thankful for this. And so many people thanked us for a phone call. And it wasn't anything. It only takes a second. And I think my heart is more filled and thankful for this person needing toilet paper and water than how thankful they are that we can provide it. And being connected with people who are just like us, everyday people, because we're going to need things. We all need things in different ways. And I need encouragement, and helping other people gives me that encouragement. So just pick up your phone or walk next door and don't let fear, be wise, but don't let fear stop you from doing what God's calling us to do.
And I don't think we realize how much of an encouragement it can be to us as well. Part of us connecting with Tom and making sure he was still, felt like he was part of our group is that my wife set up a phone call list for each day of the week for our serving team. So somebody calls them on Monday, somebody calls them on Tuesday. And what's cool is we use the app GroupMe to be able to connect with each other and talk. And all of these messages are coming in. I talked with Tom today, and we talked about this, and they are encouraged by Tom, not just being an encouragement to him. And so it goes both ways, and it does. It fills you up, and it's a joy that's something you can't explain unless you experience it. And that comes from within. And I truly believe that comes from being connected to somebody else in the body of Christ and being filled with the Holy Spirit, And so it's an encouragement in both ways, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Idea people, phone call list, phone call schedule list. How'd you call it?
My wife made a list, and she loves lists. I get more things accomplished when she gives me a list, and so she loves it. And she uses Tom paper to make the list. I'm sure everybody's got maybe some Tom paper that he's done, right? And so everybody's name is on the list for every day of the week, and they just connect with him during that day.
I love that. It's small, it's intentional, so valuable, so good. Thank you guys for stopping by and sharing what God's doing in and through you. It's such an encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So those are just a couple of the stories that we're hearing, that we're experiencing around Blue Ridge. And our hope is that today they've encouraged you, like we said in the beginning, that it encouraged you to lean in and follow Jesus in a brand new way. So earlier this week, I got to have a phone conversation with one of our partners from Puerto Rico. If you remember Jonathan and Christina from Mar Azul, they're so encouraging, so inspiring. Going through difficult things like this is kind of old hat for them. You know, they had the Hurricane Maria that came a few years ago. Then they had some political things that happened this past year, then an earthquake, and now coronavirus. They're a few steps ahead of us. They're about a week ahead in quarantine. And so I called and I said, Jonathan, can you help us? What would you say as we lean into this difficult thing, as our world has been turned upside down? How do you be the hands and feet of Jesus? How do you grow? How do you lean in? How can you encourage us right now? And I love what he had to say. He used this analogy that, you know, there are two different ways you can go through coronavirus. You can just get through it, or you can grow through it. And he used the analogy of a bunker and a greenhouse. So a bunker, you close yourself in, you shut the doors, you get what you need, and you just make it through. You protect yourself, and hopefully when you come out, the world looks something like what you want it to look like. Or you can be a greenhouse where things grow and they flourish no matter what the weather is outside. That it's heated, it's protected, it's designed to grow things. But you can see out and you can see what's happening around you, so you know what you're walking out to. You know when the right time is to come out and plant yourself in the world around you. But the world can see in and see how you're being transformed and growing at the same time. That's so inspiring and so encouraging. And then he asked his community a couple questions that I think are really important for us. What's your purpose? Because that helps ground you. And so right now, as the body of Christ, as a disciple, as an individual for you, but for us as the church, what's our purpose? We need to ask that question. And you have one. I mean, we've learned that we're a part of a body, and the intentionality is that the world would know who Jesus is through us, that you're the temple, that God lives inside of you so that he can do something in and through you. And then he asked, what's after this? How do you see yourself in that world? Because for them, Maria, a few years ago, they knew that the island was going to clean up and life was going to go on, but it would be a different version than it was before. And it is. And just the same for us, coronavirus will pass and things will be different and the same. What version of yourself? And that's the last question. What version of yourself do you want to grow in the middle of all this? As you're in a greenhouse, hopefully you choose the greenhouse and not the bunker. What version of yourself do you want to grow? How does God want to change you to be more like him? Does he want to develop your identity to look more like Jesus? And so I want to go back real quick and look at those verses that we read and see how they fit in now that we've heard stories and we've seen this picture. In Galatians, so then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially to those who are in the household of faith. Or in John 13, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. And then 1 Thessalonians, see that no one repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. And I urge you, brothers, admonish the idle, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with them all. And so what version do you want to grow of yourself? Would you, with me, open up your hands and just ask the question, God, what new thing do you want to grow in me? What new thing do you want to grow in my family? What new thing do you want to grow in Blue Ridge? There's a song we sing. What new wine do you want to make in us?